Last time in episode 2, Metaphysics, we asked, what is real? We stood at the edge of appearances and looked behind the curtain. Today we take the next step. If there is a world to know, how do we know it? Metaphysics asked, what is real? Epistemology asks how we would know it. What counts as evidence? How strong a reason must be to move a life? Which sources we can trust? Senses, reason, memory, testimony, and illumination. This is epistemology, the craft of turning experience into understanding, belief into knowledge, and noise into signal. Epistemology asks how we know what is true. We use it in simple checks in daily life. Here's a simple example. Did it rain? The street is wet, so I think it rained. What would count as evidence? Clouds, dripping roofs, weather radar, umbrellas. What would make this wrong? Only the curb is wet, sprinklers are on, cars are dry. Which source am I trusting and why? My eyes, my memory, or the weather app? I checked the timer the sprinklers ran at dawn. Update so it did not rain. This is epistemology. Ask for evidence, ask for a way to be wrong, check the source, then update. This is how the thinkers frame it. Plato said knowing is more than believing. It needs reasons you can share and test. Gettier showed true by luck is not knowledge. Your reasons must connect to the truth, not just happen to match it. Descartes asked what cannot be doubted. He started from the thinking self and built upward with clear and distinct ideas. We keep getting things wrong. Sooner or later, our answers disagree. Here's a simple example. Two doctors give opposite plans. Which one should I follow? Not volume or fame, but evidence and tests. Our senses can misfire, we see what is not there. Memory edits the story after a certain fact. Even sometimes trusted voices point in different directions. So, when seeing, remembering, and authority disagree, we need shared rules to decide which claim stands. 3 classic answers shape those rules. Bacon said, test the world, not the ego. Observe, measure, and repeat the trial. Let results not rank decide. Descartes said, find one point doubt cannot burn. I think, therefore, I am is the ground that holds. Build only on what is clear and distinct, step by step. Al-Ghazali said, seek the light that does not deceive. When certainty arrives, it settles the heart like light. From that sure base, reason and revelation can work together. Different tools, one aim. Reduce error, earn trust, and act wisely. Epistemology is the referee for claims. It balances the comfort of certainty and the honesty of doubt. This is why epistemology arose. We use 3 kinds of knowing every day. Knowing that facts you can say. Knowing how skills you can do. Knowing by acquaintance the feel of a thing from the inside. Here is a simple example. Tea. Knowing that water boils at 100 degrees. Knowing how to brew a cup that tastes right. Knowing by acquaintance the smell and bite of mint tea. Each of the knowing needs its own check. To check a fact, ask for reasons and sources you can verify. To check a skill, do it again in a new setting and get the same result. To check acquaintance, see if you can recognize it again without the label. Words flow easily, so facts can feel bigger than they are. Practice wires timing, so skills show up under pressure. Familiar patterns fire fast, so the senses know before the mouth does. Ryle said knowing how is not the same as reciting rules. What he generally meant was that a recipe is not the ability to cook. Russell said there is knowing by description and knowing by acquaintance. A map is not the same as walking the street. Use the right check for the kind of knowing you claim. Say it, test it, or sense it again. What do we mean by sources of knowledge? They are the ways the mind takes in and builds what it calls true. Some are fast and automatic, some are slow and careful. Each has strengths and blind spots, so we let them check each other. These are the sources we use most: perception, reason, memory, testimony, introspection, intuition, revelation or illumination. Perception brings the world fast. Attention is a spotlight. It shows one thing and hides the rest. Under stress it narrows, and the brain guesses the gaps. Reason ties things together slow. It needs time and quiet to catch shortcuts and errors. Memory keeps the story. It saves the gist and edits details when mood shifts. Testimony shares across minds. It is stronger when voices are independent, not copies. Introspection looks inside. Feelings get loud when arousal is high. Name them to see clearer. Intuition is quick pattern sense. It works where you have practice and slips in new places. Revelation or illumination claims light beyond. Weigh it by fit with the rest and steady good fruits over time. No single source is king. Pair fast with slow, let one correct another. Decide what would change your mind before you choose. Set good conditions, breathe slow, reduce noise, sleep enough, and then decide. What is justification? In general, it is how a belief earns its place as knowledge, not by feeling right, but by passing fair tests. So, why do we need it? Easy words can feel true. Crowds can sound like proof. Fear can make loyalty louder than reasons. Tests slow us down, so claims must stand on more than mood. There are various kinds of justification, and they all have their own perceptions. Foundationalism. Some beliefs sit on bedrock and do not borrow support from others. Think Descartes, and the certainty of the thinking self as a ground that does not slip. Coherentism. A belief is justified when it fits tightly with the rest in a stable web. BonJour gives this web view its shape. Reliabilism. Use methods that usually track the truth across cases. Goldman names this path, a belief is earned by a reliable process. Virtue, epistemology. Look at the knower and the proper working of their faculties. Zagzebski and Plantinga point to intellectual character and proper function. How these differ. Foundationalism emphasizes starting points. Coherentism emphasizes fit with the whole. Reliabilism emphasizes method that works. Virtue emphasizes the agent who knows. Same aim across them all: to earn the right to say, I know. Your senses open the room, they do not judge the case. Here are certain examples. A straight stick looks bent in water. Shadows look alive on a wall. A hot road looks wet. These examples show how appearances can mislead at first glance. This is why seeing begins the case and judging comes later with checks. George Berkeley said to be is to be perceived. He puts perception at the center, which shows why this segment asks, can the senses alone decide? Thomas Reid said we meet the world itself in ordinary seeing. He defends the door as real, but still leaves the verdict to checks beyond sight. Wilfrid Sellars warned of the myth of the given. He means there is no raw view without concepts, which is why eyes alone cannot judge. The brain predicts, then checks. Sometimes the guess feels like the sight, so we mistake prediction for reality. When attention narrows, we miss what is plain. Stress and hurry make the miss more likely. So the senses bring the case in. Judgment needs concepts, memory, and tests. There are two lenses we use to know. A fast lens called intuition and a slow lens called reason. One spots patterns quickly, the other checks them carefully. Together, they show how minds decide under pressure and in calm. Intuition is the fast lens for patterns. It guesses from experience, strong where you have practice and weak in new places. On the other hand, reason is the slow lens for checks. It builds the steps between idea and proof. It needs time and quiet to spot errors. René Descartes trusted clear and distinct insight. This is how an insight can start the work that reasoning then tests. Edmund Husserl searched for the essence of experiences. This shows how intuition can meet the thing before analysis arranges it. In urgency, the fast lens takes the wheel. In calm, the slow lens reviews the route. Together, the two lenses give a clearer picture than either alone. When something happens again and again, you expect it to happen next time. That step is induction. Here is how you understand induction. It rained every afternoon this week, so I expect rain this afternoon. While abduction in simple terms, you have clues and you pick the story that best explains them. It is a reasonable guess, but not a certainty. Here is an example. Footprints across wet stone to a door. A dripping umbrella by the mat. Best story, it rained, and someone just came in. In simple map, induction bets that patterns repeat. Abduction picks the story that best fits the clues and predicts the next clue. This is how people who study knowledge argue. They agree on words test ideas and let peers push back. They define their terms, then test with thought experiments. Clear terms stop the fight over words. Edmund Gettier crafted cases where luck sneaks in. If luck can make you right, the rule needs fixing. They use logic and probability to track support. This shows how strong the support really is. They welcome peer challenge and replication. Argument is a team sport, not a solo act. Karl Popper says good ideas make risky predictions. Researchers try hard to break them. If they do not break, we trust them more. Thomas Kuhn says we work inside a shared frame. The frame sets what counts as evidence and good questions. So arguments follow the frame until it shifts. Imre Lakatos describes research programs. A strong program predicts new facts ahead of time. A weak one only adds patches after misses. Strong programs harden. Weak ones crack. Different pressures shape what counts as a good argument. Friction among peers sands down bias. This is how epistemologists argue in practice. Fallibilism means any belief can be wrong, so we stay open to better reasons. It is not cynicism, and it does not mean anything goes. It is confidence that can still revise itself. Why it matters now? Courts, clinics, and labs need claims that can be checked and updated. News feeds and group ties can pull judgment off course. The brain loves fluency and belonging, so error can feel like truth. What living it looks like. It looks like naming what would change your mind before deciding. It looks like checking more than one independent source, not many copies of one. It looks like saying how sure you are as a number, not a slogan. It looks like asking how often this kind of thing happens in general. It looks like trying small tests before big bets. It looks like keeping ideas separate from who you are so an update does not feel like betrayal. Virtues that support updating. Honesty tells the result even when it hurts. So the data does not bend to our wishes. Courage accepts updates in public. So changing your mind is not treated as defeat. Humility leaves room to be wrong. So new facts still have a door. Choose curiosity over victory and clarity over comfort. So you gain understanding, not just a win. This is epistemology lived. What is one belief you will update the next time strong evidence arrives? What would count as strong evidence to you?